What's going on, Dog Pound, TTC, and South Carolina Gamecocks? Some of you might be looking here in the back here. Notice I've got my degree hanging up on the wall from one of the greatest institutions in the United States, the University of Georgia, first chartered state university in the nation, 1776. And the reason I've got that in here is because I'm about to take you Gamecocks to school. Class is in session. Strengths and weaknesses. Let's talk about the strengths. The first strength of South Carolina Gamecocks is, I don't know. The second strength of the South Carolina Gamecocks, they got a good baseball team and won a national title in baseball. Outside of that, they have no strengths, the University of South Carolina. At best, they've got a lot of question marks and weaknesses. So let's start with the number one question mark, Gamecocks, Stephen Garcia. Stephen Garcia was the 10th worst efficient quarterback in the league last year. Look it up, SECsports.com, individual stats. Stephen Garcia had the 10th worst passing efficiency in the league. There are only two quarterbacks worse, and that was the guy at Vanderbilt, the guy at Mississippi State. What does that mean? Does that mean he sucks? Basically, yeah. He's got all the talent in the world. He's a 4-star recruit. He's just as talented as Aaron Murray and Logan Gray. Just as talented. But does that mean he's any good? Nope. You know what? Joe Cox was a 4-star recruit too. Does that mean he was any good? Nope. So, with that said, why is Stephen Garcia so inconsistent if everyone thinks he's so talented? I'll tell you why. There's two things. One, it's the ability of him to understand Steve Spurrier's offense. One way you can kind of gauge that is based on what the coach says about him. For the last 3 years, Spurrier has been beating his head against the wall trying to get Garcia to understand his system. So Garcia might have all the talent in the world physically, but mentally the guy is dumb as bricks. He can't understand that system, and he's inconsistent. Secondly, it's your offensive line. You guys were 9th in the league in sacks given up last year. 9th. And you were dead last in the league in rushing offense. What does that mean? You guys have a lot of problems on your offensive line. No big surprise there because that's been the story of South Carolina the last 10 years. So why is this year going to be different? I don't know. Maybe because it's July and that's just how things are. But that is why Stephen Garcia is the most inconsistent quarterback this year, and he's going to continue to struggle. He might have one or two really good games like he had against Clemson last year, but he's also going to have some really, really bad games. Carolina, their wide receivers. They got Alshon Jeffrey, they've got Wesley Saunders, and then they've got a bunch of scrubs. They've got a bunch of 3-star scrubs that they're hoping will emerge to be a wide receiver superstar. But guess what? Garcia threw the ball last year. He threw it all over the place, but that didn't mean anything. So really, the problems with South Carolina's offense isn't the receivers, it's the run game and it's the offensive line. If you guys can pick that up this year, you might have a chance to be decent and win 8, maybe 9 ball games. But if that offensive line doesn't gel and Garcia doesn't figure out how to run his system, Spurrier's system that is, you guys are going to be back to 6-7 wins this year. Same old, same old. Now let's flip over to your defense. You guys, defensive line, you guys have some talent starter-wise. But after that, it drops off dramatically. South Carolina is still trying to catch up with the Georgias, the Floridas, the Alabamas, the LSUs, the Auburns, the Tennessees of the SEC regarding recruiting. We all see it year in and year out. Georgia, Alabama, Florida, LSU, and now Auburn's starting to step it back up. These teams traditionally are in the top 10 in recruiting every year, while South Carolina might have a top 20 class once every 3 or 4 years. So the talent is still not there. So when you guys have to start bringing in extra bodies on that defensive line this year against Georgia, that's when you're going to notice a big drop-off. The reason I'm saying that is because if you look at Georgia's offensive line this year, it's the strength of the team. Georgia has the most experienced offensive line in the SEC the last 20 years. And if you don't believe me, go look at a Phil Steele magazine, see what he has to say about it, as far as our returning talent and the starts we've got with each guy coming back. So what does that mean, South Carolina? We're going to bang and bruise you up front. And then we've got the best wide receiver in the nation that you guys are going to have to at least hold accountable somehow. Not to mention the other guys we've got. So your defense, the way I see it, it's been the identity of Spurrier's team the last 5 years at South Carolina. It's probably going to be the identity of your team again this year, but it's not going to be as consistent, especially in week 2 against the Georgia Bulldogs running game. So with that said, South Carolina, the last time you guys beat us in Columbia was in 2000 with Quincy Carter. We all remember that. It was 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Anyone tell me the last time South Carolina beat Georgia and Columbia prior to that? South Carolina, you're due for a big butt kicking by Georgia. And you all know it. We kicked your butt pretty good in Columbia in 2006, 18-0, with a freshman quarterback at night. You guys remember that. And in 2003, we beat you like 37-30, or 37-7, 31-7. That was a huge butt kicking. You guys said you're going to beat us because you played us close the year before. So you're due for a major butt stomping by Georgia. And this year is when it's going to happen. Now, Gamecocks, I know you're fired up. You know, you think you have a shot at winning the East this year, but you don't. You never do. At best, you guys will win 7 ball games and go to a bowl game. I think you've only won 5 bowl games in the history of your program, and Spurrier's accounted for 2 of them, or 3. Spurrier and Holtz have accounted for all of them but 1. So you guys have little to no tradition. You don't know how to win. You don't know how to handle it. And when I was in Columbia in 2008, your fans kept waiting on losing the game. No one thought they were going to win that game. Same thing's going to happen this year in Columbia at noon. Looking forward to it. All you typers out there, type up something. Respond to this. I want to see something. I want to see some of you typers get on here and make a response vid. I want to see some more Gamecocks making vids other than Zequan and Gamecocks Rules Taters trying to defend you guys. So get your ass on cam. Go down to Walmart, buy you a $20 webcam, get on here, make a response vid. I want to see it. With that, class is out. Take your notes, go home, come back, and give me some response.